Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside the Americas. I'm Laura Cellier. Here's a look at what's coming up in the programme. The prospect of Bush versus Clinton in 2016 more likely than ever as Jeb Bush officially enters the race for the White House. Plus, unrest in Central America. Why are people in Guatemala and Honduras calling for their presidents to step down? And connecting people all over the world, we visit the art installation that brings strangers face to face. But we start in the United States, where one of the country's best-known billionaires has officially entered the race for the White House. Real estate tycoon Donald Trump says he wants to make America great again. He joins an already crowded field for the Republicans. 12 contenders are now hoping to become the GOP nominee. During his flamboyant announcement this week, Trump, who's worth $8 billion, criticised both Obama and China.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
Billionaire real estate mogul Donald Trump has joined the presidential race in a glitzy announcement at New York's Trump Tower. The man, as famous for his billions as he is for his comb-over, said the American dream is dead and promised to make America great again.
I'm using my own money. I'm not using the lobbyists. I'm not using donors. I don't care. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. And by the way, I'm not even saying that in a brag. That's the kind of mindset, that's the kind of thinking you need for this country.
He's the face of The Apprentice reality TV show and owner of the Miss Universe beauty pageants. 69-year-old Trump is expected to bring flamboyance to the race. He's been a registered Democrat, Independent and Republican in the past, and he's toyed several times with running for president. But he'll be finally taking the leap in 2016 and promises sweeping changes.
I would repeal and replace the big lie Obamacare. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
In 2012, Trump infamously asked then-candidate Barack Obama to prove his American citizenship by publishing his birth certificate. In 2016, he'll have to beat out 11 other Republican candidates for the White House and is largely considered the outsider.
Well, Donald Trump is far from the biggest name in the race. Jeb Bush, son and brother to two former American presidents, threw his hat into the ring this week. If he wins the Republican nomination, he could find himself up against Hillary Clinton, former First Lady and Secretary of State, who's also considered to be American political royalty. Claire Murphy takes a look at what could be an epic struggle between two political dynasties.
This man surprised many when he initially expressed an interest in following the footsteps of his father and brother into the Oval Office. On Monday, the former Florida governor confirmed his burning ambition.
What am I going to do about it? And I've decided I'm a candidate for President of the United States of America.
While his campaign logo is just Jeb, with the commanding Bush name taking a backseat for now, he is nevertheless nosed ahead of Republican rivals, still jostling for the party nomination.
I will campaign as I would serve, going everywhere, speaking to everyone, keeping my word, facing the issues without flinching, and staying true to what I believe. I will take nothing and no one for granted. I will run with heart, and I will run to win.
But this is the woman who'll be doing everything to scupper that plan. Hillary Clinton currently appears to be a shoo-in for the Democratic Party nomination. The former First Lady launched her candidacy back in April and is talking tough on the campaign trail.
I'm running for president to make our economy work for you and for every American. I'm not running for some Americans, but for all Americans, and we have come too far to see our progress ripped away now. We can't go back.
But it's all to play for. This presidential race could well shape up to be an epic battle of the political dynasties, as never witnessed before in American history. With the Clinton couple's Midas touch for fundraising and the Bush family's network of wealthy backers, money will be key.
I know we can do better.
Without a doubt, the presidential hopefuls will be positioning themselves to appeal to certain interest groups. Clinton talking up her allure as a first female president. Bush, married to a Mexican, will be courting the Hispanic community. In common, both political heavyweights will be encouraging voters to recall just the positives. But with the names Bush and Clinton already so synonymous with the White House, one man's political magnet could staunchly repel others.
Now, the American woman at the centre of a debate over racial identity has announced that she considers herself to be black. Rachel Dolezal's carefully constructed life as a black civil rights activist has come crashing down in the wake of her parents' revelation that she is in fact ethnically Caucasian. She was forced to resign and spoke out in an interview. Let's take a listen.
First of all, I really don't see why they're in such a rush to whitewash some of the work that I have done and who I am and how I've identified. And this goes back to a very early age with my self-identification with the Black experience as a very young child.
Now, anti-corruption protests have been sweeping through Latin America and have now taken hold in Central America. Thousands of people are calling for the presidents of Guatemala and Honduras to step down. So why is the population taking to the streets now? Oliver Farry looks at what has triggered this latest wave of anger.
After Brazil, Chile and Mexico, now the mass protests have reached Central America. Guatemala and Honduras in particular. In Honduras, thousands have taken to the streets calling on President Juan Orlando Hernandez to resign. His ruling party is suspected of receiving millions of dollars of money embezzled from Social Security funds. Protesters say they've had enough, burning an American flag. They accuse Washington of turning a blind eye.
We want to go to the US Embassy to demand the US government stop supporting Honduras until authorities here show clear signs they'll fight against impunity.
The scandals come just as the Obama administration asked Congress to fork out $1 billion in aid to the region to help the fight against gang violence. Protesters in Honduras and Guatemala say the cash could end up in their leaders' pockets, but Washington has its own concerns.
There's no clear view of what can replace the present setup. So this is rather worrying, I think, certainly for Washington, who really want stability and continuity in order to have an efficient, functioning government that they can cooperate with over things like drugs and migration, which are the two big things that worry Washington.
In both Honduras and Guatemala, the mobilization is unprecedented. Students, businessmen and even priests have joined the protest. Leaderless demonstrations organized through social media. In Guatemala City, every Saturday for nearly 2 months, protesters have flocked to the capital's main square, demonstrating against two multi-million-dollar corruption scandals which prompted the resignation of the vice president. Despite the crises, President Otto Pérez Molina refuses to step down, saying the presidential elections will go ahead as planned on the 6th of September.
I have a constitutional responsibility. It's a responsibility to which I wasn't named. Rather, it was a decision by the people through the ballot boxes in a vote. It's a constitutional mandate. So I'm willing to face these situations, these proceedings, but I will continue to work up to the last minute.
Pérez Molina has vowed to serve out the rest of his term, which ends in January, but he could still face trouble. On Friday, Congress appointed a committee to study whether to revoke his immunity from prosecution.
Fans of video games have been getting a sneak peek at the latest games for the Xbox and PlayStation, and it's all about the 3D experience as Microsoft and Sony unveil their latest wares at the Electronic Entertainment Expo, better known as the E3. It kicked off in Los Angeles this week. Both companies are working hard to win attention at this, the industry's biggest event. And finally, an art project that gets people talking. Amar Bakshi's Portals gets visitors to step inside a golden shipping container, which then brings them face to face with someone on the other side of the world. Take a look.
Oh, how are you?
A standard question when two people meet for the first time, even when they're on opposite sides of the planet.
Are you working or going to school?
Linda Wei is in Washington, D.C. Mahia is in Tehran. The two are meeting through portals, a project that connects the United States to the Iranian capital, Herat in Afghanistan, and most recently, Havana. All housed in shipping containers like this one.
Hello? Oh.
Portals is an interconnected global network of gold shipping containers where when you enter one, you feel as though you're in the same room as someone in another container. And so this is meant to take something mundane and make it meaningful, even sacred.
Amar Bakshi is the man behind the project. The idea came to him after years working as a reporter, talking to strangers every day. After building the first portal in his studio in New York, Amar launched the connection with Iran, quickly followed by Afghanistan, then the toughest of the lot, Cuba.
Cuba's been the most difficult because of internet. We have had numerous artists that wanted to be involved, that wanted to host it, but they just don't have the infrastructure.
As luck would have it, that infrastructure was working when they launched in Washington, with Havana clearly on the other side.
It's really nice. It's a beautiful country.
I don't know anyone from Cuba that's in Cuba right now, and I've never talked to anyone in the country, and so this was the fresh experience. That's amazing. I would love to see that.
Though portals raised $60,000 on an online campaign, money remains a problem. The project still heavily relies on donations. But that hasn't stopped the team from looking ahead, as far ahead, in fact, as Erbil, Beijing, and even Monrovia.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Inside the Americas. If you'd like more detail on any of the stories you've seen covered here, do go to our website, www.france24.com. There you'll find all the stories in English, French and Arabic. Do stay tuned. This is France 24.